All it takes is one day, one locked grocery store, and everything shifts into survival mode. Those who prepared manage. Those who didn't are left hoping luck carries them through. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most Americans aren't broke. They're unprepared. In 2026, with prices rising, insurance climbing, and extreme weather hitting harder than ever, a handful of cheap, overlooked essentials can mean the difference between stability and panic when the grid goes down. In this video, I'll share 12 low-cost items that can become priceless during a crisis. Things you can store, use, or trade when systems fail. Miss even one, and you'll feel it fast. Let's begin. 12. Salt, the original powerhouse currency. When it comes to survival in America, salt is far more than something you shake onto dinner. It's a preservative, a basic medical supply, a sanitation tool, a way to fight fatigue, and maybe most importantly, a highly tradable commodity that everyone depends on, yet hardly anyone stores in sufficient amounts. What truly earns salt the nickname white gold is its durability. It doesn't expire, and it holds up in every climate imaginable, from the frozen winters of Minnesota to the brutal 120-degree summer heat in Arizona. During an emergency, salt becomes a literal lifesaver in practical, hands-on ways. Take preserving meat as one example. Using just 2 to 3 ounces of salt per pound, you can dry cure meat and keep it safe to eat for days, even without refrigeration. This simple technique carried Americans through past blackouts, devastating hurricanes, and even the harsh conditions of the frontier era. Beyond food preservation, salt doubles as an inexpensive and highly effective first aid solution. Stir 1 or 2 teaspoons into a cup of warm water, and you've got a basic wound-cleansing rinse when commercial antiseptics aren't available. And when extreme heat causes dehydration, salt plays another critical role. Combine 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of sugar in a cup of water, and you create a simple oral rehydration solution, similar to formulas recommended by many U.S. doctors for treating heat exhaustion, especially among older adults in states like Arizona, Nevada, and California. Inside the home, salt quietly handles dozens of everyday problems. Sprinkle it down drains to reduce odors. Blend it with vinegar to tackle mold. Scatter it across icy steps to improve traction and help melt buildup. A single inexpensive 1-pound box, often costing less than $1 at stores like Walmart, can stand in for a surprising number of specialized cleaning and maintenance products. If supply chains falter, salt's value rises quickly. Because everyone needs it to cook, preserve food, and address minor health concerns, it becomes a powerful item for trade. Someone who runs out may be willing to exchange batteries, candles, or even canned goods for just a few ounces. 11. White vinegar, the silent defender of your home. Here's something most people don't realize. When a crisis hits in America, the first real threat inside your home usually isn't hunger. It's decay. Within 24 hours of a power outage, especially in humid states like Florida or Louisiana, where moisture levels climb above 70%, bacteria multiply fast, mold begins spreading, and unpleasant odors take over. That's exactly when plain white vinegar turns into a surprisingly powerful survival tool. Those inexpensive 2 or 3-gallon jugs sitting on a Walmart shelf can replace products people over 50 often spend hundreds of dollars stocking up on during hurricane season. Mix 1 cup of vinegar with 3 cups of water, and you've got a reliable surface disinfectant, something that can stand in for Lysol when store shelves are completely cleared out. Dealing with mold after a storm? Spray undiluted vinegar directly onto the affected area and let it sit for 1 to 2 hours. It immediately starts breaking down the growth and weakening it at the source. Vinegar even works as a backup washing system when electricity isn't available. Add half a cup to a load of laundry, and it helps remove odors, soften fabric, and disinfect clothes, all without relying on traditional detergent. That's especially useful when you're conserving clean water during a boil water advisory in places like Texas or Ohio. Worried your fruits and vegetables may have been exposed to contaminated tap water? Stir 1 tablespoon of vinegar into a cup of water and use it as a produce rinse. It's a simple step that adds an extra layer of safety. If your cookware starts smelling stale or sour, boil half a cup of vinegar in a pot for about 5 minutes. The steam neutralizes odors almost immediately. And when you combine vinegar with baking soda, the chemical reaction is strong enough to loosen clogged drains, dissolve grease buildup, and clear pipes in seconds. It's an old-school cleaning method Americans relied on during World War II when soap was rationed and every resource had to stretch further. Here's the part that really matters in a long-term emergency. White vinegar doesn't expire. It remains stable for years, resists spoilage, and maintains its strength over time. That makes it an easy and valuable item to trade when supplies are scarce. In a true crisis, a single gallon could be exchanged for batteries, matches, or even several cans of food. 10. Baking soda. When your body feels grimy, your house smells off, and money is tight, it's not always the storm or the blackout that pushes people over the edge. What really sparks panic fast? Odor. 2 days without a shower and body odor creeps in. Food spoils in a powerless refrigerator. Sewer smells rise when water service is interrupted. Shoes stink. Clothes sour. A sealed home baking in 100-degree heat develops that heavy, stale smell. And oddly enough, the solution to all of that can be a tiny, inexpensive box of baking soda. There's a reason it's often called the Swiss Army knife of survival supplies in American households. It handles an impressive range of problems with almost no cost. For minor burns, heat rash, or skin irritation, mix 1 teaspoon of baking soda into a cup of water and gently apply it to the affected area. Anyone living in hot, humid states like Florida or Texas understands how helpful that simple remedy can be when skin gets inflamed from sweat and heat. Run out of toothpaste? Baking soda works as a backup. A small pinch, about 1 to 2 teaspoons, can help scrub away plaque and neutralize bad breath. In fact, before modern commercial toothpaste became common, many Americans relied on baking soda for dental hygiene. It's also a powerful deodorizer. Sprinkle 2 or 3 tablespoons inside shoes, refrigerators, closets, or even on carpets. Let it sit overnight, and the trapped odors are dramatically reduced, often gone entirely by morning. If you're ever faced with a grease fire in a pan, baking soda can help there too. Pouring a thick layer directly onto the flames can smother the fire safely, without water and without needing a fire extinguisher. For cleaning, combine baking soda with white vinegar to create a fizzing reaction that cuts through stubborn grease on kitchen surfaces, pots, and even floors. It's a simple chemical-free solution that works surprisingly well. And if water service is shut off, baking soda doubles as a makeshift dry shampoo. Sprinkle a small amount onto your hair roots, rub it in gently, and it absorbs oil and sweat quickly. One viewer once shared a blunt comment: 8 days without showering. Baking soda was the only thing that got me through. It's inexpensive, lightweight, easy to store, and it doesn't expire. When the economy feels unstable, you're not just buying a single-purpose product. You're investing in dozens of practical uses packed into one small box. 9. White sugar. At first glance, sugar seems ordinary, almost too basic to matter. But during a crisis, it becomes far more valuable than most people expect. When someone is drained, shaky, or running on empty, especially older adults or individuals vulnerable to low blood sugar, a single spoonful can quickly restore alertness and stabilize energy levels. For anyone living with diabetes, though, this must be handled carefully. Blood sugar management is serious, and any adjustments should always involve proper monitoring and medical guidance. I once saw a situation that changed the way I think about sugar. In a neighborhood I used to live in, a family with a newborn, just a few months old, fell on extremely hard times. They had no access to breast milk and couldn't afford formula. Out of desperation, they diluted sugar in water to keep the baby fed. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't recommended. It was simply the only option they had at that moment. And yet, that child survived and eventually grew up healthy. That experience stayed with me. It showed me that, in certain dire circumstances, sugar can serve as a temporary bridge when no better alternative exists. But sugar's importance goes beyond calories. It boosts morale. After 48 hours without power, something as simple as a cup of coffee with sugar can lift an older adult's spirits dramatically. A small spoonful stirred into a drink can help a tired child maintain energy until a proper meal becomes available. In tense situations, comfort matters just as much as nutrition. Sugar also plays a key role in food preservation. It allows you to make jams, syrups, and fruit preserves that extend the life of produce when refrigeration isn't an option. That alone makes it incredibly useful during long outages. Here's another practical trick many American households rely on: combining sugar and vinegar to create a natural fruit fly trap. Mix 1 cup of warm water with 2 tablespoons of sugar and 2 tablespoons of vinegar. Cover the container tightly with plastic wrap and poke small holes in the top. In humid states like Florida or Texas, where flies multiply quickly during blackouts, this simple setup can make a noticeable difference. When it comes to barter, sugar holds surprising value. It's considered a small luxury, and in stressful times people are often willing to trade batteries, lighters, or even coffee for a modest amount. That's because sugar offers both immediate energy and a brief moment of comfort in the middle of uncertainty. 8. Heavy-duty trash bags. If there's one inexpensive item Americans frequently wish they had stocked up on before a major storm, it's contractor-grade trash bags. They're not flashy. There's nothing high-tech about them. But when real life hits, whether it's a blizzard in Minnesota, flash flooding in Kentucky, or hurricane-force winds in Florida, these thick plastic bags quietly become a frontline defense for families. For older adults, individuals with chronic health conditions, or anyone living alone, a single heavy-duty bag can make a dramatic difference. With a simple modification, 1 hole for the head and 2 for the arms, you've got an instant poncho that blocks wind and rain. It's crude, but it works. If windows shatter during high winds, taping a contractor bag securely over the frame helps trap indoor heat. That small detail can be critical for someone with diabetes or heart disease, whose body may struggle to regulate temperature in the cold. During floods, these bags act as waterproof vaults. Medications, insurance documents, medical equipment, seal them inside, and they stay dry. Many families even line their evacuation backpacks with trash bags before heading out in the middle of the night, adding an extra layer of protection against water damage. When sanitation systems fail, a heavy-duty bag placed inside a 5-gallon bucket instantly becomes a makeshift toilet. Cleaner, safer, and far more manageable than most people expect. It's one of those practical tips hundreds of people say they wish they'd known sooner. There are stories that really drive this home. One mother in Texas shared how her car broke down during freezing weather. She wrapped her baby in 2 layers of contractor bags, which helped trap enough body heat to keep the child warm until help arrived. In extreme Arizona heat, others use black contractor bags to collect rainwater from gutters, an emergency water source when municipal systems shut down. What surprises many people is how valuable these bags become for trade. In a prolonged emergency, heavy-duty trash bags turn into high-demand items. People will exchange batteries, canned goods, even propane, because they understand that staying dry, staying warm, and maintaining sanitation can matter more than almost anything else. So take a moment and think about it. How many contractor bags are actually in your home right now? If your answer is just a handful, it might be worth reconsidering before the next storm makes preparation feel urgent instead of optional. 7. Light sources. The quiet stabilizer when everything goes dark. When the power cuts out and the hum of electricity disappears, the silence can feel overwhelming. It's not always hunger or cold that unsettles people first. It's complete darkness. That kind of pitch-black environment can trigger anxiety fast, especially for older adults. Heart rates climb, stress hormones spike, and for anyone managing diabetes or heart conditions, that sudden surge of stress can become dangerous. People who've lived through extended outages in places like Florida, Texas, or California often say the same thing. Without light, basic tasks become nearly impossible. One of the simplest and most overlooked solutions? Solar yard lights, the inexpensive kind you stick along a walkway. During the day, they charge outside. When the grid fails, bring them indoors, and you instantly have 6 to 10 hours of illumination without draining a single battery. In sun-drenched states such as Arizona, New Mexico, or Nevada, they can provide a nearly endless cycle of renewable light. Compact flashlights may seem small, but psychologically, they're powerful. Hand one to an older adult, and you'll often see their sense of control return almost immediately. That narrow beam allows them to check medications, adjust a heater, or move safely through the house. In that moment, an $8 or $10 flashlight can feel far more valuable than a $100 generator that may not even be accessible. Candles can be controversial, but they remain highly tradable and practical in certain conditions. During severe winter storms when temperatures drop below freezing, even a single tea light candle can nudge the temperature up slightly in a confined space, sometimes just enough to help prevent hypothermia in a vulnerable person. Many people have shared that they made it through long blackouts simply by gathering affordable candles from stores like Dollar Tree. Without light, everyday essentials become overwhelming. Cooking, cleaning, treating minor injuries, even calming your own thoughts. It all becomes harder in total darkness. But introduce even a modest glow, whether from a solar garden lamp or a simple flashlight, and something shifts. A sense of safety returns. The mind steadies. The chaos feels manageable. 6. Toilet paper and disposable paper. Goods. The overlooked line of defense for family health. In nearly every major U.S. crisis, from the Texas freeze to hurricanes in Florida and flooding in Louisiana, there's one uncomfortable reality people avoid talking about. You can tolerate being hungry for a while. What you can't tolerate is losing basic sanitation. For Americans over 50, especially those managing diabetes, fragile skin, heart disease, or arthritis, just 2 or 3 days without proper hygiene supplies can lead to chafing, skin breakdown, infections, or painful sores. A minor irritation might not sound serious, but during a large-scale emergency, it can escalate into an emergency room visit at the exact moment hospitals are already stretched thin. That's why toilet paper, paper towels, and unscented wet wipes aren't small conveniences. They're a low-cost health protection system. When water becomes contaminated, pipes freeze, or showers aren't an option, a simple pack of fragrance-free wipes can help someone stay clean enough to prevent infection and maintain a sense of dignity and calm. Paper towels are even more adaptable than most people realize. They can soak up grease, wipe down kitchen surfaces, clean hands when soap runs low, line a temporary toilet setup, and, if absolutely necessary, stand in for toilet paper. It may not be ideal, but in a pinch, it works. Feminine hygiene products and diapers also take on expanded roles in real-world emergencies. Pads, panty liners, and baby diapers can serve as highly absorbent bandages, bedding protection for elderly adults, or skin barriers when regular bathing isn't possible. In survival scenarios, these items become multi-purpose medical and sanitation tools. By the third day of a blackout or water disruption, basic hygiene supplies become extremely valuable for trade. A single package of toilet paper or wet wipes might be exchanged for batteries, canned goods, or even fuel. For older adults especially, staying clean isn't about comfort. It's about preventing complications that can quickly become life-threatening. 5. Matches and lighters, small tools that restore one of humanity's oldest powers. When widespread blackouts hit, snow piles up, roads freeze over, and the air inside your home turns so cold you can see your breath, one element separates stability from desperation: fire. Without it, everything becomes harder. You can't boil water, which becomes a serious risk in states where storm damage contaminates municipal systems. You can't heat canned food, sanitize basic tools, or keep children and older adults warm. People who endured the Texas freeze repeated the same frustration. We had food, but no way to cook it. That's why storm-proof matches and inexpensive lighters are some of the most affordable forms of survival insurance in America. A simple 99-cent Bic lighter can make an enormous difference when a generator fails, when snow traps you inside, or when you need to light candles, start a small controlled fire, or safely burn waste to reduce health risks. For adults over 50, especially those managing heart disease, diabetes, or daily medications, access to warmth is not optional. Being able to heat water for drinking, hygiene, or comfort can be critical. Many people have shared stories of using lighters to restart oil heaters, carefully thaw frozen pipes, or prevent pets from freezing during extended outages. There are also practical tricks that seasoned preppers rely on. One common method involves dipping match heads in melted candle wax to waterproof them, ensuring they'll still ignite after exposure to heavy rain, something especially useful during Florida storms. In a barter economy during crisis conditions, a lighter carries surprising emotional and practical value. Someone without fire is at a severe disadvantage. They can't cook, can't generate warmth, and can't purify water. In that context, a single lighter may be worth more than a can of food. That's why many prepared households buy them in bulk from places like Dollar General. some to store, others to trade if needed. Fire has always been humanity's original source of power. Even in a modern emergency, it remains a defining factor between managing your situation and waiting helplessly for rescue. 4. Ziploc bags. Small, inexpensive, and capable of protecting everything you've worked to store. Across the United States, whether it's hurricanes in Florida, flooding in Texas, wildfires in California, or extended blackouts in Maine, there's one quiet destroyer that causes more damage than people expect. It's not always flames, it's water. Moisture and humidity ruin belongings faster than almost anything else. A single leak through a window during heavy rain. One burst pipe. One sudden flash flood. That's all it takes to soak medications, warp important documents, contaminate bandages, and spoil carefully stored spices or dry goods you may have spent months stockpiling. This is where an item that costs less than $10 can protect thousands of dollars worth of supplies. Ziploc bags. In the preparedness world, they function like miniature waterproof safes. When the electricity fails and the refrigerator shuts down, you can transfer flour, rice, crackers, spices, and other dry goods into sealed bags to block out humidity. If floodwaters begin rising, a single sealed bag can protect critical medication for someone managing diabetes, something that can literally mean the difference between stability and a medical emergency. One person once shared how they preserved their insulin during a flood by sealing everything tightly in Ziploc bags and placing them on a high shelf as water filled the lower level of their home. That simple step kept their medication usable. Beyond food and medicine, these bags safeguard cash, cell phones, batteries, lighters, seeds, insurance cards, property deeds, items that, once wet, may be permanently damaged. For Americans over 50, Ziploc bags become even more essential. Daily prescriptions, medical paperwork, and identification documents all need to stay dry during outages or evacuations. A small, lightweight plastic bag can quietly protect an entire backup plan, the difference between chaos and continuity. In a crisis barter system, Ziploc bags often sell out immediately. You might manage without certain comforts, but when rain is pouring and everything around you is soaked, waterproof storage becomes priceless. Their trade value rises quickly because everyone suddenly needs them. 3. Duct tape. The all-purpose repair tool every household underestimates. There's one incredibly cheap item that often outperforms a $200 toolkit when things fall apart. Duct tape. Most Americans already have a roll somewhere in the house, but it's only during a real emergency that you realize how valuable it truly is. Duct tape exists for one simple reason. It fixes almost anything, at least long enough to get you through. During hurricanes, a single roll can help reinforce windows, stabilize door frames rattling under high winds, and seal small gaps to keep cold air or rain from blowing inside. In flooding situations, it can temporarily patch minor pipe leaks, secure loose wiring, and fasten belongings so they're less likely to be swept away. Some of the most telling stories come from everyday people. One older commenter shared that after a storm shut down every store in town, they used duct tape to repair worn-out shoes, and those shoes lasted another 3 weeks. Another woman explained how she secured medical gauze with duct tape when surgical tape wasn't available, helping protect her husband's diabetic wound from infection. Beyond that, duct tape reinforces torn backpacks, creates emergency knife grips, seals damaged roofing material, strengthens carts, and even works as a makeshift strap when rope isn't available. In wildfire-prone areas of California, some residents have used it to seal door edges and reduce smoke infiltration inside their homes. What makes duct tape even more valuable in a prolonged crisis is its barter potential. When something essential breaks and there's no immediate replacement, people become desperate for a fix. A single roll can be exchanged for clean water, lighters, or even food, because the ability to repair something on the spot can feel priceless. 2. Paracord. A thin line that can make the difference between control and chaos. At first glance, paracord seems unimpressive. It's lightweight, inexpensive, and easy to overlook. Most Americans assume they'll figure things out if disaster strikes, until they face a moment when one strong cord determines whether they spend the night secure or exposed. There's a reason rescue teams, bushcrafters, and seasoned survivalists rarely go anywhere without paracord tucked into a pocket or pack. It may look simple, but it consistently proves its worth when conditions turn unpredictable. When a storm rips part of a roof away, when evacuation orders come in the middle of the night during a wildfire, or when a vehicle gets stuck in mud, rope is often the first tool people reach for. Paracord can secure a tarp shelter faster than many bulky framing kits. It ties gear to a vehicle roof, keeps luggage from shifting, and suspends food out of reach of wildlife during camping or emergency situations. Members of the preparedness community frequently share stories of using paracord as an improvised rescue line, pulling someone across a slick surface or anchoring equipment during high winds. Its strength relative to its size is what makes it stand out. Unlike standard rope, paracord contains inner strands that can be removed and used separately. Those fine fibers can repair a torn backpack, secure small tools, or even function as fishing line if food supplies run low. In hotter states like Arizona or Nevada, where dehydration can lead to muscle cramps in older adults, being able to hang supplies away from animals at night adds another layer of safety. In a barter scenario, even a few dollars worth of paracord can carry surprising value. When someone urgently needs to tie down a load, secure a door, or stabilize a shelter, and they don't have rope, they'll often trade generously for it. Batteries, protein bars, lighters, small cordage can unlock big exchanges. So think about this honestly. If tomorrow you needed to fasten a door, build a temporary shelter, or pull something heavy, how much paracord would you actually have available? 1. Cheap drinking alcohol and rubbing alcohol. The quiet kings of crisis barter. If there's one category of item that people consistently trade almost anything for during wars, floods, blackouts, or water system failures, it's alcohol, both the inexpensive drinking kind and basic rubbing alcohol. They may seem ordinary sitting on a store shelf, but when medical systems strain, hospitals overflow, and supplies run thin, these bottles quickly become essential tools for hygiene, treatment, and even morale. Rubbing alcohol is often described as a doctor in a bottle. For just a few dollars, you get a powerful disinfectant capable of cleaning wounds, sanitizing needles, wiping down knives and pliers, sterilizing cooking tools, and disinfecting hands when clean water isn't available. In certain situations, it can even serve as emergency fuel if a gas stove is unusable. Cheap drinking alcohol has its own role. It can function as a temporary disinfectant in limited cases, burn in an alcohol stove for heat or cooking, and, because of its high alcohol content, remain stable for years without spoiling. Stored properly, a handful of inexpensive bottles can quietly sit in a box until they're needed. When a crisis hits, each bottle can become valuable currency, tradable for batteries, potable water, canned goods, or even medical supplies. The reality is simple. The person who has alcohol and rubbing alcohol during a prolonged emergency holds significant leverage in a barter system. Looking back at this entire list, none of these 12 items are flashy. They're not high-tech gadgets or expensive survival kits. But when everyday systems fail, they transform into practical tools that address the exact problems Americans face during disasters: sanitation, wound care, clean water, food preservation, warmth, and emotional stability. Preparedness doesn't require massive spending. It starts small. A container of salt, a few rolls of duct tape, extra Ziploc bags, several bottles of rubbing alcohol. These modest supplies are what steady you when store shelves are empty, when electricity disappears, when water quality becomes uncertain, and when daily life feels unpredictable.